Welcome back, everyone. It is AP Gains. Today we're doing a 2025 free-to-play farming guide for Tacticus. Quick disclaimer, this is going to be fast and to the point. There are two ways to play this game, or mobile games in general, or just everything in general. There is the 90% normal version, and there is the 10% Excel spreadsheet version. We're going to do the normal version today, but my hope is that if you're a new player, this will get you to the point where you can decide for yourself if you want to engage in conversations about that 10% Excel spreadsheet version. Now, it makes the game a lot more efficient and blah, 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 blah. It just requires effort that if this is a casual game for you, that you just like collecting cool characters to do fun stuff, is not super important. But if you're like me and you really enjoy this game, you will want to know how to be more efficient. We'll talk about that in the future. Okay, we're on the free-to-play account. Let's talk about the three-ish ways to acquire characters, or the couple of ways. The first is characters that are just given to you to start the campaign off. I wouldn't worry about upgrading them too much. Bellator is nice. We'll talk about why in maybe just a little bit. I don't know if I want to get that advanced, but I wouldn't put too much gear into these characters. They'll help you get started with your very first Indomitus campaign, which is where you will unlock gear, and then eventually, if you beat bosses, you can farm shards for other characters. Now, this is the second way you can acquire characters. You can go to boss fights. You can have a certain number of raids a day where you get a certain amount of chance to get a certain number of shards. Eventually, you will unlock those characters, like the boys right here, the Necrons, and it will open up another campaign. In this instance, it would be the Indomitus Mirror campaign, where you can in turn get shards for other characters who are useful in the normal version of the Mirror campaign, as well as other gear. Now, you will eventually get to a point where you are kind of stun-locked out of gear. For example, on this free-to-play account, I got lucky and I got Abraxas, who's a great character. But there's this piece of gear that I can't actually get because it's locked behind campaigns that I don't have the characters geared up for on this account. For example, I would need these beautiful little elves wherever they are. Sorry. I keep forgetting that they change the way this is, not in order if they come out, but in the order of the amount of them that you have. So I don't really, my Eldari are not super great, so I won't be able to get that piece of gear, so I just request it from my guild. So what is the last way you can acquire characters? Gambling! You should always do a 10 pull. But I don't care. I'm just for the video, we're going to gamble. Okay. Legendary? No. All right, it's going to be like 3 common Xenos orbs. Oh! Okay. That was relatively uneventful. But yes, there's a lot of characters who are kind of required or kind of locked behind requisitions. Eventually, they come around in campaign events as time progresses, which is another way that you can get a certain number of shards for a certain amount of time for a certain number of characters. So we've talked about kind of how you get characters. I guess we should cover new characters come out either as these release events for normal characters where you do a certain amount of stuff to get a certain amount of points, to get a certain amount of shards, to get a certain character. There's also Battle Pass. If you go to like your mission or your Battle Pass here, there's characters that come up in the, let me just scroll to the fucking bottom. There's shards that you can get for characters in the Battle Pass. That'll help you get in them at a certain, I'm going to see how many times I can say the word certain. It's not a word I say very frequently, but I'm going to say it a lot in this video just to see how certain I am. That you can get characters. They usually come out at like Epic. And then there's legendary release events like Trajan that are happening at the moment or just finished happening, where you use a certain select number of characters to get a certain number of shards for a certain character. Boom, I'm on a roll. Now, legendary release events for free-to-play players are a good place to point your attention. The thing is, each legendary event requires has different requirements for the characters that you use in them. For example, a battle, you could get points for using characters who only have, power attacks. For example, a lot of the Black Legion and Death Guard have power as their form of attack. And you can use that to do a couple of challenges to get some points towards that event. We won't talk about that too much today. All right, We're 5 minutes in. We're going to talk about the actual characters that you want. I'm going to go faction by faction because that seems like the easiest way to do this. I'm just going to tell you the characters who are decent. Now, the required characters for the Astra Militarum campaign are Boom, Boom, and Boom. Okay, I'm not going to actually do that for every single faction, but the 3 required characters right here. Creed is a legendary character who I don't think you can get outside of... Oh, I guess you actually can. He is the last character that you can get in the Fall of Cadia boss mission. There was a time many years ago where this kind of Cadian Guard combo with Yarick and Creed was great. But these Yarick's solid. Creed is a little just not worth it. And then we'll talk about Machines of War at the end of this video. Black Legion, the required characters for the campaign are, I believe, Harkin, Archimatos, and Angrax. I believe. Now, I think it's because Abaddon has just always been bad. They're theoretically in the process, as we speak, of reworking all these characters. Harkin just got like a change to his active ability, which makes it slightly less awful. But by and large, this team is not fantastic. One thing I will say is for recent legendary events, a lot of them have come up as characters who can do things in those legendary events. So if you're farming them for the purpose of that, I would be careful because they change the requirements for legendary events very frequently. But if you want to get them to Bronze 1 with a couple of silvers to help get through the campaign, to unlock all of the gear farming and stuff like that, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Death Guard. Death Guard used to be awful, but apparently now they're not. One of the more prevalent combinations for legendary events is the Maldus and Rotbone combo. They both meet a lot of requirements for different traits. They both have power. They're both resilient, which comes up quite frequently. Terminator sometimes pops up. These characters are very useful for legendary release events, and that is the only reason that I am farming them outside of the fact that they're just solid PvP characters as well, and Rotbone is one of the more useful characters because he is a healer. But they used to not be good, and now suddenly you won't really regret farming them. Typhus is legendary, so I don't know if you'll even ever get him without getting him in a poll. I don't even know if he's farmable, to be perfectly honest with you. No, it doesn't look like it. But if you have him, he's got power. He's got a power attack. He's also a psyker, which has been useful in the most recent legendary release event. So, solid character. Tyranids, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a ton of experience with the Tyranids. Tyrant Guard is like a real MVP when it comes to legendary release events and more horde type game modes. So if you have them, I mean, might as well, I guess. I really like the Machine of War, the Biovore. I'll talk about that when I talk about the Machines of War. Ultramarines, not great. Bellator is pretty useful because of his summons, his survivability. He appears a number of times in legendary release events. A solid character, so if you're very early, I would put more of your gear into him as opposed to the other two as the campaign events go along. Incisus is actually good now. Was not when I was playing because healers were kind of useless back then. But now a very character. Hits okay, heals well. Healers are kind of more of a premium now because there's a lot of survival horde-esque game modes where you have to survive and do damage and kind of get through a longer event. So healers kind of become the only way to bridge that gap. So if you have him, and there's also a meme that he shows up in like every single requisition pull. I do, as you see, get a lot of his shards when I do requisition pulls. Titus, I wish I had. He is a fucking stud. If you have him, you should, I don't know, go to Vegas. I'm not condoning gambling, but you'll be quite lucky. I missed his events. I don't know if he'll ever come back. But if you get your hands on this boy, he is a fucking PvP stud. I won't talk about, maybe I will talk about why. When he dies, he has a chance to last hit. And if he last hits and he kills something, he comes back. It's pretty great. The Necrons. The Necrons are to be honest with you, but Aleph Null is a real MVP in recent Legendary release events. Got flying, got mechanical, got summons, which usually die, but also has this passive heal, which helps you kind of punch up in these longer events. There'll be a theme of characters that can be durable, and heal will be useful in these events. So I'm investing. Thutmose was okay in the last event, and I actually just pulled Anufet. Solid character, but I'm not going to really put much work into them. Orcs were bad, and now they're good. Snot is a stud. He hits hard. He's thick. He's hard to kill. His summons are annoying. I don't know if I've talked about this in this video, but the AI is so stupid. It's actually one of the worst combat AIs I've ever seen in any game. They always go for summons because they prioritize killing stuff, and summons are always really weak. And he produces a fuck ton of summons, so a very good character for longer events to keep your team alive by distracting the enemy. And then my favorite character in the game at the moment, Golgorz. They revamped him, thankfully, to make his active actually useful. His summons are solid. He hits hard. He appears in quite a number of events because of his traits. He is a real MVP and a character that you should absolutely fall in love with. The Tau are a little bit of a mixed bag. They're occasionally useless and occasionally I don't know what the word I was going to say there, but they're occasionally useless and occasionally super fucking useful. Shosal, oh my god, I can't speak today. His sniper cannons, his piercing, he hits like an absolute unit. He appears in enough events for his traits to be useful, but he's a real PvP legend. Great for the mechanical raid team because of the number of mechanical droids or sniper drones that he produces. And then the reason that Aleph Null is good is only because with Ravos, they don't die. They do no damage, but they don't die. So in these longer events where, for example, you need mechanical and flying as traits to get points, they kind of just sit next to each other, and you spend 90 minutes of your life whittling down characters, wishing that they would somehow make the gameplay more compelling. But regardless, you exploit the gameplay. So these two characters are very solid. Anshi is good because of the active, but I mean, you're probably not going to have them there frequently. Characters that used to be booty cheeks but are now fantastic. Vindicta is a real DPS machine. She shows up somewhat in release events, so not terrible to have. Isabel is everyone's favorite fucking goth mommy now because of the constant healing she has. If she's next to someone and they take damage, she'll heal them for a percentage of that. Morven Vol, I see in PvP sometimes. Rostwitha, kind of not really. And then Celestine is just an absolute fucking unit, but, I mean, good luck. Like all legendary characters, a lot of them are good. Will you get them? Probably not. If you do, you should find yourself lucky, but I wouldn't worry too much. Black Templars, I don't use them a lot, as you can see, but they're okay for PvP game modes where levels are capped out because a lot of them have good fighting synergy with each other. I wouldn't worry too much about them. I would maybe put them to, like, honestly, they have some overlap as far as gear is concerned in the campaign, so maybe get them to, like, Bronze 1 or something like that, just to, like, get a couple extra campaigns out of them or whatever. But I wouldn't worry too much. Adeptus Mechanicus, the best faction in the game. Great for guild raids, which is kind of the #1 content. And then they show up enough in legendary and hero and just release events to be useful outside of that. They're okay in PvP. I've been working a lot with trying to figure out how to get them to work really well in PvP, and I've had some success. And the PvP in this game is not fantastic, but for guild raids, they are an absolute stud. And if you have them, or you're farming them, like in the campaign event, you cannot go wrong with the Adeptus Mechanicus. Aldari are okay. Some of them are solid PvP characters, like Calandus is a real PvP MVP. There was like this like weird Eldrion Psyker kind of nonsense that doesn't really exist much anymore. I wouldn't put too much stock into that as a free-to-play player. They're solid. If you can get the 2 legendary characters, they're okay. I wouldn't worry too much about them. Dark Angels, very similarly. This motherfucker is an absolute PvP stud. I don't have him, but stud. The rest of them are okay in PvP. Forcus is okay in PvP. PvP is a lot of times a crapshoot on whether or not your opponent actually knows how to position characters. If they don't, you can win with anything. If they do, it's kind of just who breaks the boredom first. But this man right here is an absolute unit in PvP. Space Wolves, not really much to talk about except for Ragnar. Again, a legendary character being good. Who would have guessed? I don't have him. His event is long gone. If you have him, he is a fucking stud, and you should gear him like a mother. Jack, I don't know if either the T or the J are silent. I'm just going to call him nothing. He appeared in like every single requirement for the recent legendary event, so theoretically he's useful for right now, but if you're just starting right now, I wouldn't worry too much about him. World Eaters, big damage, big bones, skulls, thrones, all that sort of stuff. I wouldn't worry too much about a lot of them. They fight well, but PvP is not like a massive part of the game at the moment as far as progression is concerned, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Blood Angels, very seriously. Nicodemus, solid healer. Lucian, fucking pew 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 pew, lots of damage, very fun. Mephisto and Dante, legendary events were the past ones. They're good, but if you're new, you're not going to progress fast enough to hit their events. I wouldn't really worry. Gene Stealer Colts, lame. Worst events ever. If you fight Gene Stealer Colts, you wish they weren't in the game. The Pattern Mine's very good, though. There's a nice raid team. It's kind of hard to explain. Thousand Suns. Abraxas is great. They work well together, but their campaign is more later game content because you have to kind of luck into getting the elves, and then you can get a couple of these, and then you get these, and then you can farm the rest of the elves, and go back and forth, and it's kind of annoying. Whatever, who cares? And then the Custodies, they're coming out right now. I think when they're all said and done, they'll be really good. PvP kind of characters. They're thick, they hit hard, they have good synergy with each other. There's only 3 of them, so we don't know for sure. This is the real MVP right here. He's okay. He's okay. Together, they'll be really good. If you're starting right now, I wouldn't worry too much about going after them. Aside from maybe you want to wail on the fucking battle pass, or if you start right now and you can get to a point where you can do the missions to unlock him at some level. If you're starting right now, maybe you can hit the last event of his legendary release event, but you're not going to have enough shards to actually finish it off. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Hopefully they show up in a campaign of some kind so that people can get them because they're really cool. But they're kind of just money bait at the moment for the old studio. Sorry, I'm stretching, very professional. Oh, it's been a long fucking day. Happy Father's Day, by the way. I'm recording this on Father's Day. Yeah, that's every fucking character in the game explained. Is there a priority? This is not a game where there's really farming priorities, because a lot of the times it's just kind of random who you get when you have enough requisition pulls to get some new characters, and you happen to get a good character that I listed off, and then you farm. You know what I mean? So, aside from campaign-specific characters, you can't really dictate who you get. You just kind of get characters, and then you gear them up, and you're like, oh my god, I have this character now. That unlocks this whole new part of the game for me, and it's a little weird in that way. I wish they increased the number of characters that you could farm, because a lot of the good characters you can't farm. Well, I guess that's kind of true for a lot of games. But in summation, work on your campaign characters. If you get a character where I audibly orgasmed while describing them, gear them up a lot. Watch videos on raid compositions to know how they work together. I don't know if I want to actually put the effort into putting in raid guides, especially on this free-to-play account where I can't really do a lot of the raids at a high level. Maybe I'll bust out one of the old super fucking mega maxed out accounts to show that off, but probably not. I don't know if I have the energy to do that. In summation, good. Ooh, very good. Okay, very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. Sorry, that was just busted. PvP. Amazing. Solid. And oh yeah, fuck these guys. And then woo, and then wow. And then more factions and units coming soon. Cool. All right. I'm going to go fucking, I don't know, impregnate someone so that next year I can celebrate Father's Day. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I love you. And use my goddamn referral code. Bye.